right. I'm going to say good morning. Good evening. If we can make time move, what I'm hoping is that tonight would be the culmination of this lesson plan that we've been doing for several months now. We've been talking about the whole man, ministering to the whole man. We started off with the spiritual man, the physical man. Now we're on the financial man. We want to, if at all possible, try to complete and wrap up all of these tonight. So, with that being said, I'm grateful for everybody who has tuned in, who is tuning in, who will be tuning in, who will replay it, who will just go back and maybe listen to some of these that we have been doing for quite some time. And once again, if you all will, please share this. If you are currently on Facebook, if you all will take the time right now, go in, share this message, however they do it, whether or not they share it, invite someone to watch it, whatever. Let's try to get as much as this information out. I believe it's valuable. If you believe it's valuable, then help us get the word out. Tell somebody about it. Tell them to watch it. Man, I look dark on here. Can we brighten that up at all? No? Is it just me? Okay. All right. So, I think we've done, for the most part, a good summation over the past few months. We started off with the spiritual man because the spiritual man is most important. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Everything else will be added. We all are in agreement with that because the word says so. We went next to the physical man because we wanted to make sure that we are taking care of the body. If you don't take care of the body, you're not going to live long enough to be able to get anything done. You're not going to have enough time to bless people because you are so sick, you're in the hospital, you half dead, you're in a coma, you whatever. So the idea was to minister to the physical man. Then after that, we minister to the financial man. To me, it was the financial man that was somewhat most important. And the reason why I say the financial man teaching was most important is because I think that's where we are lacking at the most in church. I think in the church, people don't know more about the financial part than they do any other part. Most people have at least a general understanding of who Jesus is and some of the background, whatever. But when it comes to money or their money, their finances, financial literacy, they are completely in the dark. So we tried to bring out the finances part, and we're going to try to wrap that up today. Good evening, Mother Adams, Bishop Adams, Dr. John Brooks. If you're still watching or if you're on, good evening to you as well. We're grateful to have you all watching with us. Please, don't just come and troll the page. If you own it, say so, say hello so that we have an idea of who's watching. It gives us at least an idea of how many people are visiting the page, and if it's being any kind of blessing to you, let us know that you're on watching. I'm having trouble hearing. It's going up and down. I don't know if that's because I keep moving the mic, but keep me informed. Let me know if it's actually happening. Now, I'm getting different messages that different people are watching, but then it's saying there's 2 people watching. I can't get 8 notifications that all of these folks are watching, and then it's saying there's 2 people watching. That don't make sense. Y'all started watching, and then y'all jumped out of it. Y'all think I'm crazy. That's why there's numbers on the top. I know numbers. Okay, so what I want to do is start where we ended on last week so that we don't have to go all the way back through the last 16 weeks. I just want to kind of hit where we started on last week and then go through that. I have roughly an hour and 20 minutes to get to the end. We ended on talking about generational wealth. We asked the question last week, did anybody remember us talking about it? Some folks said yes, some folks said no. But as we talked more about it, I remembered having that conversation before. So I do know that we talked about it at least for the last couple of weeks. We're going to conclude with that today. Why is generational wealth so important? I'll tell you why it is important. Well, one, First Lady said the scripture. The scripture says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That is generational wealth. When you are leaving finances for not just you, first of all, you should not be thinking just to the tip of your nose. You ought to be thinking past tomorrow. You ought to be thinking about next week, next month, next year. Have a plan for 10 years down the road. You need to have an idea of what's happening in your finances. If not, you'll be caught off guard. And most of us, they said, they always give these different percentages. But there are more people right now living paycheck to paycheck than has ever done it in recent times past. That means that more of us, either because of inflation, loss of income, whatever, we don't have as much saved income as we used to have. The average person should have at least 3 months of their income on reserve. Very few people have that, but now more people have less than what they did a year ago as far as reserves are concerned. So we need to try and put more money away, and in putting money away, don't just put it away for you. Don't be selfish, especially if you are the head of household, the breadwinner, the matriarch, the patriarch of your family. You need to think past just right now. You need to start thinking way down the line. Your retirement, when do you start thinking about retirement? As soon as you start working. Don't wait till you're 50 to start thinking about retirement. It's kind of too late then. If you're looking for retirement as we define retirement, when you are able to swap your time on the job and still be able to have pretty much the same amount of income and standard of living. Most of us take a really big cut either in finances or standard of living when we retire because we don't plan for it properly. Start planning for retirement as soon as you start working. 16, 17, 18, that's the time to start putting some money aside, start building up your portfolio. We'll go through that. But that's why generational wealth is so important. We could go through more and more. Now, let's talk about how do we build generational wealth. The concept of building generational wealth is easy. Simply, you have to acquire assets or save cash that you don't intend to spend in retirement. Generational wealth says the money that I have or that I'm accumulating, I'm not going to spend that in retirement. Basically, what money am I going to pass on after I die? Nobody wants to talk about death, but if you are living, you are going to die. Even if the rapture comes, you're still going to die because you're going to be changed in the twinkling of an eye. That's death. And that's what happens in the physical sense when we die on this side. It is a momentarily brief blink. You die on this side, you wake up on the other side. You wake up warm or you wake up cool. But you're going to wake up on the other side one way or the other. You understand? But that's death. But it's going to happen. Two things are for sure. They say death and taxes. Guaranteed, you're going to make them both. Now, when you die, the taxes are still going to hit, and it's going to hit your estate. Whether or not you have a large estate or a small estate is going to hit. But how do we build it? We build it. These are the different ways that we do it, and we're going to try to hit it quickly and move on. We said investing in the stock market. The stock market is how to create generational wealth over the long term. If you are aiming to build generational wealth, it is a great option because it has the potential to continue growing for decades. Investing in the stock market might sound scary if you've never done it. However, it is an important way to build wealth in your lifetime and beyond. The best thing to do is to find a stock market investor. Find someone who either you know a proven track record when it comes to investing in the stocks. If you have the ability to open up like a Robinhood account where you can do penny stocks and they don't charge you a lot on the upfront or on the back end, it's basically you're going in, you're buying, and you're able to see. I would say if you're doing it for the first time without any help, literally it's almost like gambling, and the stock market is a gamble because you can go in, you can lose, you can gain. But if you're going to start by yourself without any knowledge, I would say, go to the nickel slot machines before you start playing gin rummy with some of the best folks or blackjack, and you ain't never played before. Start with the nickels, and right here they have penny stocks, but you can find you investors who already have been doing it that would be willing to train you. Most people who are doing it don't have a problem talking to you about it because there's enough out there, and if they can get you to invest in what they're investing in, their investment goes up. Because the more people who are buying those stocks, that stock value goes up. So believe me, they are willing to coach you. Just be careful, again, who you get to coach you, that you make sure the person doesn't have an ulterior motive. There are a lot of people right now who are going to jail because they've been embezzling funds and they've been manipulating the market for their own benefit, knowing that there was no money in it. So you all just be very careful. But the stock market is a great way. And with the stock market, I'm asking people to become their own boss. I'm asking people to become entrepreneurs. The stock market is actually a way that you don't have to start a business, that you can still become part owner of a business. Understanding that when you buy stocks, you are buying ownership into whoever started the company, and they took the company to the public, which they call an IPO, an initial public offering. And when you heard that, what they said was, my company is worth, make it simple, my company is worth $1,000. I have 1,000 shares. So I'm going to sell each share for $1 a piece. If you buy 501 shares, you actually have the controlling in that company. Does that make sense? Now, most often the person who took the business public, they're going to buy 501 shares off the back to make sure nobody can have controlling interest of their company. But there are a lot of times where they mess up and they sell more than the public share, and somebody takes ownership. It happens. But at any rate, that's how the stock market works. Buying shares makes you part owner of a company, so you can, even if you don't have the mind on how to start a business, you can find somebody who does have the mind that's willing to take that company public, and then you buy into it. There's a whole lot of people who bought into Apple and IBM and Amazon and all of that way early, and all of a sudden they're retired now because their stock options are just through the roof. You can do that. Anyway, talk with someone about it. Investing in real estate. Real estate is another great way to invest. There are a lot of people who are afraid of real estate because they fear getting into something that either they don't understand, or so many people have tried to buy a house for themselves, and when they tried to buy a house for themselves and they got turned away or turned down or whatever, it made it seem like it was an impossible feat, but it's not impossible. You can buy a house. Anybody can buy a house. Anybody can buy a car. Y'all ever been to those car lots where they say financing for anybody? Well, yeah, somebody's going to get 6% and somebody is going to get 35%, but you can buy a car, right? To know, even if I buy that car at 35%, because there are people who are buying cars right now not for themselves. Just like you have Airbnb, you have the same thing for cars. So people are buying cars to rent them out. So they're making $3,000 a month on renting out their cars, even if that car note should be $700 a month. They're paying $1,400 a month because they're paying 35% interest. I'm exaggerating the numbers, but the business model is the same. They're paying double what they should be paying, but they're getting $3,000 a month in exchange for that car. So even though they're paying more, it's a business write-off. So not only do you get to write off that interest, you can write off a whole lot of other things, but you're making still $1,500 a month that you're clearing. You can buy a house. Because right now, let's say you buy a house, or let's put it this way. Let's go back 2 years. You bought a house, the going interest rate right then was 3%, 3.5%. You got bad credit, so at bad credit, they charging you 7%. 15 years ago, 7% was a great rate. You understand what I'm saying? When I had a 780, I got a house at 6%, I was like, I am on top. Okay. She good. Yeah. She was spending too much time out there, and I wanted to make sure. Thank you much. I appreciate y'all. 6.75%. But let's say, 2 years ago, they got a house at 6%, but they were paying $700 a month for the mortgage. But they got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Do you know how 3-bedroom, 2-bath is renting for right now? A 3-bed, 2-bath is renting in this kind of area on average for $1,400. So even if you were paying $700 or $800, you're still making that same amount. And if you got a fixed rate mortgage, in which most of the mortgages right now are not variable or fluctuating, they're fixed, which means your mortgage payment is pretty much going to stay the same for 30 years. What am I saying? You can buy real estate right now, and for the most part, the housing market is going to continue to go up. There are still more people looking for houses than there are houses available. So as long as supply and demand, you will be able to buy a house, even if you buy it at a higher interest rate. Be careful. Get some knowledge of the real estate market. Get some knowledge on all of these different things. But most of us, if you buy a house and you buy it at 6, 7, 8% interest because it's high, do you realize that most often in 6 months, between 6 months and 2 years, you can still reinvest? In 6 months to 2 years, you can renegotiate the terms of that loan. In other words, you can refinance it down to a lower interest rate and be able to still do more with it. So yes, you might get hit on the front end, but on the back end, it's going to work out for you. There are different ways that you can do this. Right now, my family and I, since we went and we started staying in other people's homes in Lake of the Ozarks and Branson and all of that, paying $1,300 for a week, $1,500 for a week to live in somebody else's house. What if we did the same thing? Do you know there are a lot of people, I want to get past this because there's so much more, but I won't even go into it. Real estate. There is an ability to have passed down generational wealth through real estate. If you are more interested, send us a message. If we can't answer it, we will put you in contact with somebody who absolutely can. Do not be afraid to buy a home, whether it be a home for you to live or a home for you to rent out. There are a lot of people who, if you're single or even as a family, you can buy a small apartment building, a duplex or a quadplex, a four-family flat. You live in one, rent out the other three, and most often, if you buy it, you can live in that house for free because the other three people who are paying the rent for those other 3 units will be enough to cover the mortgage on the whole place. So you can live rent-free. And then when you build up enough active income, you can rent your place out and then go and buy you a house based on the income that you're making alone. And you still living rent-free in the mortgage. There are ways, brothers and sisters, that you can do this. I'm trying to give you just a snippet of what the wife and I have accumulated as far as understanding this market, real estate, that we've done over the last 21 years. It's out there. Next, build a business to pass down. Again, I said I would love for everybody in here to be an entrepreneur. I would love for everybody to own their own business. You can own your own business. It doesn't take much. You need a license through the Secretary of State. They will give you an EIN, which is an employer identification number. An employer identification number is basically the Social Security number for your business. So your EIN for your business is the same as your SSN for you. Make sense? So you can go through the Secretary of State, say, I want to start a business. I want to start Ebony's Lawnmower Service. All it took was Ebony went to the pawn shop, bought a lawnmower and a can of gas, and went down the street and asked somebody, can I cut your grass? And they said yes. While Ebony was cutting their grass, somebody next door said, hey, my grass is high and I don't feel like coming out. How much did you charge to cut mine? And that's how it snowballs from there. That's how it works. She spent $150 at the pawn shop and $10 in gas in the can, and in a month, she done made $800 off of an initial $150 or $160 investment. After she builds up enough business, she calls the Secretary of State. She gets her name incorporated or LLC set up. She pays for the license, and she's off and running. Before long, she's going to need more than that little lawnmower. She's going to need a bit more. She's going to need a riding more. She's going to need somebody to help her. She just started a business, and if she can keep it going, she can pass that. And now that business have generated her enough income to be able to live on. When she dies or retires, she can set it up to where she gets a portion of that income through retirement and either turn her children, grandchildren, whatever, and keep it going. When she dies, that amount that she was living on now goes to the rest of the family. You all understand what I'm saying? Starting a business, it don't take much. My wife started a business 11 years ago with a box of cake, 2 pans, and some Pam spray. She paid $25 for the ingredients 11 years ago for a cake. She charged $85 to make it. That was cheap back then, but she was getting her name out there. She made $60 profit minus her time. over time, I became financially more in debt trying to figure out how to do. We prayed, Lord, we need at least $400 extra in income. We prayed, God, give her at least one cake a week on average. She was doing, each cake was $100. Give us 4 cakes, that would give $400. That was covering. No. Brothers and sisters, before long, she was doing 4 cakes a week. That was $400 a week. Now, it became enough. Instead of just her, when she became ill and couldn't do it, she already passed it down. It went from Ronica's fantasy cakes to Ronica with girls, to girls and treats, to sweet cakes and treats, or whatever. Right now, the business is just theirs. She gives them advice, but that's mostly it. It's already been passed down. It doesn't take much. You all understand what I'm getting at. It doesn't take much. You don't have to be Steve. What's the man's name? Steve Forbes. Steve Jobs. You don't have to be him. You don't have to be Bill Gates. You don't have to be Alonzo Adams. My dad started Al Adams Towing. Didn't even have a good slogan, but it stuck. Dump, need a tow, call on Adams. He won't be slow. And that's what he had printed on the side of his truck. What he had on his business cards. 524-69. 6199. Yeah. Hey. I remember, but in 1990, he took those 2 tow trucks that he had and was making over $100,000 a year in 1990. There are people right now who are still talking about, being able to get to 6 figures. He had done it in 1990 with a tow truck. My uncle took a lawnmower and made $100,000 a year in 6 months. He only worked 6 months and with a lawnmower and a weed eater. It can be done. It was ready to be passed down. Generational wealth. Okay, the next one. I want to spend 30. Life insurance. Life insurance can be somewhat because most people don't understand life insurance. You act like you ain't gonna die. So you don't, because you think it's not important or it's not necessary, but you hear about the business tycoons and the Trumps, the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, and anybody ever watch those shows on the History Channel, The Men That Built America? Y'all need to watch those things. It gives you the history of about a whole lot of these people that you're hearing that you didn't know how they came to be. The Fords and J.P. Morgan, all of these folks who got money now, you didn't realize how they started. J.C. Penney's. J.C. Penney's was started by a man right outside of Kansas City, Missouri. Jeffrey Cash or Jimmy Cash Penney, that was his name, and then they changed the name from the full name to just J.C. Penney. But all of this was started with folks who, but the majority of the people who came into money, they didn't come through real estate. They didn't come through the business. They came through the death benefit of a life insurance policy. How many people do you know? One, if you pass down money from a business, that money is it is taxed. You have capital gains tax on all of the money that come from businesses. So you all ever watch people who win the lottery. When they win the lottery, you get $1 billion lottery. How much do you take home out of that $1 billion lottery? About 400 million, because of how much it is, it goes into a higher tax bracket. So they take 600 million, you get 400 million, but you still opt for the one-time payment, don't you? Even though if they said we'll give you 800 million over your life, or 400 million right now, we always go with the 400 million because we are people who want it. You know, it's my money and I want it now, right? Life insurance, if you have $1 million life insurance policy and you die, your family gets $1 million because it's non-taxable. The death benefit of a life insurance policy, you get every dime of it. So it's easier for you. Now, the thing is, most people don't know how much life insurance to get. They don't know what kind of policy to get. The younger you are, the better type policies, most often for the younger people and people who don't have many illnesses, frail body types or whatever. Term life is the best way to go. Now, I want to read to you some of the different types of life insurance policies and go over the basics with you. We can go over this more in detail, but most of us, believe it or not, would probably benefit at a younger age for term life because term life is pure accidental death insurance. When you get insurance for your car, how many of you all know how to buy insurance for your car? If you have a 30-year-old car that's worth $800, how many of you all put full coverage on that car? Unless you got some scam coming and you ready to run it into a wall. But if your car ain't worth but $800 and they pull it up and see that you got a 1972 Datsun, you can pay full coverage if you want to. You'll pay $3,000 a year, and if you run that car into a wall, they're going to send you a check for $800. It don't make sense to get a $3,000 a year policy when your car is only worth $800. A lot of people are buying the wrong kind of insurance because they don't realize what they're paying for. If you understand what you are paying for, it will make more sense. I got to move. Life insurance, term life. Term life, the basics. The common level term life period includes 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, or 30 years. There is no cash value. The premiums are level, and they are annual, renewable, or decreasing. The death benefit is fixed. How does it work? Term life insurance has a specific end date. In other words, if I buy a 30-year term policy, at the beginning, I'm 20 years old when I buy a 30-year policy. I'm going to pay for a $500,000 death benefit. I'm going to pay when I turn 20. I'm going to start paying $50 a month for a $500,000 policy. Okay? The chances of me dying, they're saying, is slim to nil. So we're going to get $50 a month for each year, which is $600 a year times 30 years. That is 100, or what is that, 18,000? That's $18,000. And at the end of that 30 years, they're hoping that you're still alive, right? Truth is, you hoping you're still alive. But just in case you die. So you're buying insurance based on, I'm going to get this amount because my house is $100,000, my car is $50,000, and if I die, I want to be able to leave my family $350 after paying off the house and the car. You need to determine how much insurance you are going to get based on what you want to accomplish with the death benefit. If you have children that you got 10 kids, you want to put your 10 kids through school, each kid for 4 years at a state university is roughly $30,000. So you get $300,000 so that all of your kids will be able to go through school, $200,000 for your home being paid off so that if you die, your family don't lose the house. They still get a place to stay. So you get a $500,000 policy so that all of your kids can go through school and they can pay off the house, minus whatever it's going to cost for your funeral. Does that make sense? So most of us need to realize, how much do I need? The majority of us are either completely uninsured or underinsured. There's a reason. But, so, It is the cheapest way to buy life insurance because you are buying only insurance coverage and not paying for cash value life insurance. Who is it for? Term life insurance is ideal for people who want life insurance coverage for a specific debt or situation. The downside: if you still need coverage after the level term period expires, you could find the renewal rates to be unaffordable. What does that mean? I'm 20 years old. I bought a 30-year policy. When I turn 50, they say, okay, your policy is ending. You need to renew. Do you want to renew for another 30 years? Your life expectancy then is 80. But more than likely, you're not in as good a shape at 50 as you was at 20. By now, you probably got a larger midsection, and because you've been sitting down more often, you probably may have developed type 2 diabetes and sleep apnea and all of that. So now when you go to take your physical to get your life insurance, to get that same $500,000 policy, it's no longer $50. It's $150 a month because your mortality rate just went up. Does that make sense? Okay, I look like I'm losing y'all, like y'all ready to go to sleep. I wish we was over in the fellowship hall. I could get you some coffee. If you need to stand up, stand up. I don't want you to fall asleep. This is the last one of the session, and I got 50 more minutes and we're done, God willing. Whole life insurance. Whole life insurance is permanent. It does have cash value. The premiums are level, and the death benefit is fixed. How does it work? Whole life insurance can provide coverage for the duration of your life. An account within the policy builds cash value over time by using part of your premium payment and adding interest. Anybody ever had those people come to your house and they want to sell you life insurance? The majority of those people who are coming are selling you whole life. Now, whole life insurance is great because you're 19 or you're 20 or you're 25. They're going to sell you whole life based on your entire life. It's not a 5-year term or a 30-year term or 20-year term. They're saying for your whole life. They are considering your whole life to be up to 100 years. Whole life insurance goes to 100 years. If you go to 101, you're screwed. Because all that money you put in for that whole life insurance is up at 100 years. At 100 years, whatever your cash value is that you've built, you're either going to get the death benefit or the cash value. The thing that they don't tell you in whole life insurance is if you have a cash value and you die, they're going to give you, if you have a $100,000 life insurance policy, they're going to give you the $100,000 when you die. If you got $20,000 in your, built up of cash value, you don't get that. You surrender that. But if you live to 100 and you get $50,000 in your cash value, they're going to give you the $50,000, but you don't get the $100,000 death benefit because you didn't die on time. You all understand? So you're going to get one or the other. Most often, though, they don't tell you that. So you need to talk to someone who understands life insurance and what's going to be best for you because everybody is different. Everybody's needs are different. The younger you are, the more insurance that you need because you might have more bills. The older you get, the idea is that the older you get, you don't have as many bills. We don't purchase properly. We 60 years old, and now you want to buy a new house, a new car. You just messed up. All of that should be paid off by now. I digress. Okay, let's keep going. From whole life insurance, we have universal life insurance. we have variable life insurance, and then we have burial and funeral insurance. I want to kind of bypass the variable life and universal life, because variable life and universal life, what they did was they had black and white, term life, whole life. Once you got past the place of term life, some people didn't want to go into whole life because they didn't like whole life. Everybody didn't need whole life, but they didn't want necessarily term life. They wanted to know, can I get the best of both? So then they started mingling the two. So between term life and whole life, they came up with universal life. Then they came up with variable life. Then they came up with universal whole life. And man, there's a whole lot of them out there. You just got to figure out which one is which. Some has cash value. Some you can take the cash value that you've built up, not pay a premium, and use the built-up cash value to continue to pay your own premiums every year. There's a whole lot in there, but it can be very, very confusing. So find someone who understands the whole idea of insurance, but they don't have a gimmick, because somebody is going to try to tell you based on what they want you to buy because they're selling it. So be careful who you get to explain it to you, that they don't necessarily have a dog in the fight. Now, one of the next things that they have is burial and funeral insurance. What is burial and funeral insurance? When my mom and dad and them were coming up, a lot of people were going around and they were selling just a burial plan. This was like a $5,000 or a $10,000 plan. Back then it was more like $5,000, because the average funeral back then was $4,000, $5,000 or whatever. How much is the average funeral cost right now? Anybody know? Right about 15, roughly $13,500 to $14,000 is average. Now that takes into an account, some of the smaller plans to some of the most extravagant. But on average, right around $13,500 to $14,000. And with inflation over the last year and a half, that might be even higher. We called a guy this week to come and install the TV over in the children's church. He installed these two TVs up here. They were $60 for the first one and $40 for the next one. Right? That was just back in May, June. He told me now it's $75 for the first one. I told him, thank you, never mind. I understand prices done went up, but I got somebody who's doing construction, and I just said, I'll just ask them, can you, if we buy them out, would you put it up? Can't be that difficult. That dude had them things up by himself. Them big old 60-inch TVs, he had them up in 5 minutes after he put the mount on the wall. Can't be that difficult. I just don't want to take a chance on putting it up and it fall down and y'all blame me, and now y'all want me to pay for the TV. I'm not doing it. So, but we'll get somebody else to do it who's already kind of like doing the work, who may already have an idea of how to do it. Anyhow, burial and funeral insurance. Why don't y'all stop me when I go down these roads? Don't nobody say, hey, man, you getting off course? Appreciate it. 5,000. So the average cost, $13,500 to $14,000. But these people are buying $5,000, $10,000 policies for burial and all of that. And all it does, all burial and funeral insurance does, is pay for your burial and your funeral. But at least that's better than not having anything. You all understand what I'm saying? GoFundMe is not your burial plan. I'm so sick of, my mama died, my daddy died, we started a GoFundMe so that we can bury them. That is ridiculous. I'm telling you right now, it's ridiculous. Please, if you don't have a life insurance policy, at least have a burial or funeral expense plan to where they can put you in the ground. And they don't have to just wrap you in a sheet and put you in a pine box. It's at least a decent funeral. They can pay for the embalming. You don't have to be just frozen solid, and hurry up and have the funeral before she thaw out. Y'all, it's crazy. But at least be responsible to that degree. That don't leave nothing for your family. That don't help them. If you was the one who was taking care of all the bills and you died and you didn't leave them anything, they're scrambling as soon as you die. Because remember, we're all living paycheck to paycheck. So when you die and that last paycheck come in, they're stuck. If you were making $3,000 a month, which ain't no money, $750 a week, if you were making $3,000 a month, everybody in your family now is going to have to try to figure out how they can make the $3,000 a month to cover the bills that you were covering. That means somebody might have to drop out of school. Everybody's going to start working overtime, or somebody who wasn't working going to have to get a job, and maybe the mother. There's a whole lot of stuff. We need to do better. We have to do better. Brothers and sisters, just because you 18, 19, 20, 21, up to 25, I'm not going to die. Tell that to all of the 20-year-old dead folks who got into car accidents, who got jacked, who got whatever. There's a whole lot of young funerals that's happening today, tomorrow, this next week. That young 19-year-old man who got killed on the church parking lot. It don't matter whether or not, hey, you don't have to be thugging. You don't have to be drug dealing. You can be driving down the street and somebody hit your car, and it's done. Please get you some insurance. Parents, most of you all, believe it or not, if you have a life insurance policy, a lot of them have what they call riders, where your children can be included on your life insurance up to the age of 25 on some, 21 on others. But your kids can be included on your policy for like $10,000, $15,000, or $25,000 without any additional fees being paid. We have our children, all of our kids are on our insurance riders. My son is still on there because he ain't 25 yet. And there's $25,000 for each kid if anything happens. Insurance is just in case it happens. Y'all follow me? Y'all with me? All right. They have different types of burial plans, survival life insurance, mortgage life insurance. What is mortgage life insurance? Mortgage life says if you get a mortgage for 30 years, a lot of them, if you ever had a mortgage, there's something called PMI. That means if you die, they put in the insurance, or the mortgage company puts a life insurance policy on you for the amount of your mortgage. If you have a $150,000 mortgage, they get a $150,000 life insurance policy on you. That way, if you die, it pays off the mortgage. You have to look into that, because some of those, the mortgage company is going to get paid, but they ain't going to give the house to your family. It's covering them. It doesn't cover you. The mortgage company, you have to understand who is the guarantor and who is the beneficiary. Because if they get the policy, they become the beneficiary. They get the money, not your family. So it's not for them. I would like to get what they call key person insurance on the church. Key person insurance says the president, CEO, or whatever of the company, if that individual dies, the company gets the money to cover what that individual did. As the CEO, you need somebody to replace him. So it gives you enough money to go out and find you a replacement. If I die as the pastor, do you know how many pastors die and the church dissolves, or it takes 3 or 4 years, 5 years to get a new pastor? What happens to the membership? Half the membership is gone. With the membership goes the money. You get a $500,000 policy on me and I die, we can pay off the church, We can make sure that even if everybody leaves, one, the church is already paid off, so all we are paying for is the utilities, insurance, blah, 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 right? We can still make sure church continues to go on. That's key person insurance. That's different. That goes on. So there are different kinds. There's credit life insurance, supplemental life insurance, blah, blah, blah. Next, invest in, now we're still talking about how do you build generational wealth. We stopped for a minute to go over life insurance because that was important because, again, there are more people who are financially wealthy right now because of life insurance than any other individual passed down that has been created. Now, the next one, invest in your child's education. What does investing in your kids' education got to do with passing down generational wealth? The majority of us who are wealthy because of what we know. The Bible says we are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. If you understand finances, most often, if you understand something, you're going to teach your kids that same thing. You're going to pass down at least the information, and information, knowledge is power. That was the whole thing of the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. Once you get it here, pass it down. Now, let me say this, because here's a caveat. We used to tell our kids growing up, go to school. After you go to school and you graduate high school, you will go to college. Go to college so that you can get you a good job, right? My dad taught me otherwise. My dad told me, son, go to school so that you can make yourself a good job. Because if you get a job, you can get fired. And most often, unfortunately, I hate to say this, I hate to come back to it, a lot of the jobs that's being created is not being created with us in mind. There is true systematic racism. It's not everywhere, but it is in the majority of places in the United States. So we found out that there are just as many white high school dropouts in better paying jobs than there are black college-educated paying jobs. Why? Because this country was built on the backs of slaves for their slave owners. So a lot of the Fords and Vanderbilts and all of them who didn't have college educations, while we was chopping cotton to provide all of the finances for them to do what they wanted to do, they built all of these businesses. So they own them. So their high school dropout son can come work for them. And he's not going to start in the mailroom. He's going to start in the executive board. And you will be answering to him with your college degree. You all, I cannot tell you how many, when I came out of the service with college degrees and everything else, and who I was answering to. People who had no college degrees, and they were afraid of me because they were afraid to promote me, thinking that I was coming for their job. And they were right. I was. Because it didn't make sense for me to spend $40,000 on a college degree to make $13.25 an hour. But that's what was happening. And I had a good increase because I had left the job paying me $8.50 an hour as an overnight cashier for a gas station with a college degree and pilot license and air traffic control license. Your license and your degrees don't matter if you don't make your own way. Now, they said invest in your kids' education. Let me tell you how I know for a certainty that your education don't mean so much. Regardless, I know a whole lot of people who have a degree and their job is not in the degree and what they went to school for. And if your job or if your degree was worth so much, why are they battling on the Biden plan to forgive student loan debt? Why is it that people who have graduated after 20 years still ain't paid off their student loan? Because they ain't making enough. Why ain't they making enough? If you were supposed to go to school to get you a good education so that you can get you a good job, where's your good job to pay for your good education? Did you ever think about that? And now the rich people or telling Biden, don't forgive the loan. Keep them in debt, because keeping us in debt is also keeping us out of home ownership, because our debt-to-income ratio is so upside down. And what do? We keep forbearing the loan. Most of us who got a student loan, you can keep deferring the payments for almost forever. I'm not telling you what I don't know. I'm telling you absolutely. I graduated December 2001. When I graduated, I had $14,000 in student loan debt because the military paid for most of it. It's 21 years later, and I got $10,500 in student loan debt. So over the last 20 years, I paid down $4,500. It's a disgrace. But as soon as I heard they was going to forgive $10,000, I made sure, since they put it in forbearance, I let it stay in forbearance. I was ready to try to get it paid off because I was in a position to do it. And they said they were getting ready to forgive it. Hold up. Let's wait and see what happens. They forgave billions of dollars for Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo right now has been they got to pay back so many millions of dollars the same way Chase did and Wells Fargo, because of they found out there were racist practices keeping people from being able to get loans. So Wells Fargo right now is having to pay back so many millions. I mean, like $40 million or $140 million because they found the practices that was keeping people from being able to get loans. Yes, they are finding ways to keep us out of home ownership, because home ownership opens up a lot of doors. I'm trying to help you. So invest in your child's education, but do you know there are more people who are getting paid on trades than they are getting paid on degrees? We were on our way back from Texas. We met a man at a McDonald's. This old black man, I think he was really trying to flirt with my daughters. But he was 80-something years old, but he said, I drove trucks across the country, and I was making over $180,000 a year driving trucks. He said, I can barely spell my own name. He said, but my pension right now is $80,000 a year. He's making more in his pension than some people are making working. But he had a trade, no formal education. A lot of these men who were carpenters, who went to trade school, learned how to lay bricks. They learned how to use a protractor and determine the angles and build and all of that. They have a trade. They make just as much, if not more, than an individual who has a 4-year degree. You all can look this information up if you think I'm lying. I just don't have time to go through all of those different stats. So yes, invest in your child's education, but if your kid tells you they don't want to go to college, don't be so mad at them. College ain't for everybody. And if you look at what college is doing, for the most part, is putting us into places where we are paying the same society that don't want us, and all they're doing is hiking up the cost of education so that you can continue to pay it because you think if you get it, it's going to change your life. What does college do for most people? Do you realize that regardless of what your college degree is in, the whole purpose of college is to prove that, one, you have the fortitude to stick with something for a certain amount of time, and two, it is showing that you are trainable. Regardless to what your degree is in, going to college says that you are teachable. Teaching what? Whatever you went into. So whether or not you have a specified skill in, brain surgeon, do you know Ben Carson? Now, kind of crazy right now, I think. But that man got multiple honorary degrees because he learned how to read. And he taught himself a whole lot of things through reading that the schools wouldn't teach him, because with him, y'all look at there was a show. What was the show, Ron? Gifted Hands. Look up the movie Gifted Hands. It was a movie about him before he went cuckoo and went down the Trump road. But look it up. That man was second to none because he learned how to read. If you learn how to read, you can teach yourself math, you can teach yourself the sciences, you can teach yourself all the other stuff just by reading, because reading with comprehension. Your kids are learning by themselves at home because the teachers ain't teaching them nothing. For 2 years, most of them were learning virtually. What does that mean? You see that the classroom is not as important as they say it was. A whole lot of things they told us couldn't happen, wouldn't happen, can't do, you see now that it really can. Your kid needs to be in school. Then why did you make it mandatory for them to stay home? If they needed to be in school, then you should have found a way for them to be there. But we found out they don't need to be. They can learn. Teletubbies can teach them on TV just like they school taught them through a screen. We learned just as much through Sesame Street when I was growing up. Then, I learned my ABCs and how to count before I got to kindergarten. Through Sesame Street. Come and be the letter people. Come and be with the family. Words are made by letter people. A, B, C, D, follow me. Y'all, I ain't heard that in God knows how long. But it's been 44 years probably since I heard that. But I watched it every day, and we learned, and it's been ingrained. What's been ingrained in your kids' heads since they were 4? What are they able to bring up that you don't talk about no more, that you think they done forgot? The mind is powerful. Very powerful. Teach your children about personal finances. All of my kids have a savings account and a checking account. My girls have an IRA and all of that. And at least right now, once every couple of weeks or once a month, I tell Mom and I say, bring us your checkbooks, all of your ledgers, let's go through them. Has everything balanced out? I have allowed pretty much all of my kids to become the accountant on my business account so that I can teach them how to order supplies, how to balance the book. They see how much goes out in payroll. They understand all of that. The youngest one, 15, understands how to order. If she's going to make a cake, she knows how much of her supplies, how much of in time, what is her profit margin. Do you know the average 25, 30, 45-year-old person don't know how to do that? Invest in your children. Talk to them. And if you don't know, talk to us. Let us teach you so that you can teach them. When we say we're going to start family classes, finances is a big part of your family dynamic. Give us the opportunity to pass that information down to you. Create multiple streams of income. Brothers and sisters, you all should not have just one job or one necessarily form of income. If the only income you have is through your job, what happens minus Aflac if you get hurt? How many of you all have gotten hurt or got sick, and when you couldn't go to work, you tried to use up your paid time, your sick time, your vacation time? If any of you all had any debilitating time or diseases or whatever, there went all of your income. What if you had passive income? How many of you all know what passive income is? Okay, how many of you don't know what passive income is? passive income is income that you continue to get after you have done the initial job to get it. Or passive income is income that continues to come in continually. So, if you buy a house, when you bought the house, that was all the work that you did, was buying a house. You put somebody in the house, you're paying $700 a month for mortgage, you're charging $1,300 a month for rent, you get $600 a month of passive income. You pay out the $700 to the mortgage company, the $600 comes to you. What if you had the average income is roughly $30,000 a year, $2,500 a month? What if you bought 4 houses that allowed you, after you paid the mortgage, you got $600 from each one of those 4 houses? That's $2,400 a month in passive income, and the majority of that income could actually be non-taxable. So whereas if you got $600 a week on your job, most of you all who would get, that's $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, $600 a week. Most of you all know, single or not, you're going to pay at the very least a third, roughly, in taxes. So out of that $600, they're going to keep $200. You're going to get $400 take home. That's Social Security taxes, federal taxes, state taxes, local taxes, roughly a third of your money. Well, if you have $600 a month coming in from rental income, almost all 600 of it you keep. Because at the end of the year, your accountant is going to find a way to write it off, because your home, even though it's appreciating, is considered depreciated value. I'm throwing a whole lot of terms at you, and I'm hoping that you're going, I don't understand. Because if you don't ask a question, we've been through all of this for 20-some-odd years for a reason. Your pastor, God has allowed me to go through a whole lot of heartaches and bumps in the road and all of that, so that you now can get the advantage of everything that I messed up. That was an amen moment. That was a hey, right on, Pastor. Thank you for messing it up. I can't stand y'all. Create multiple streams of income. You need to have. I can't remember. In one of the lessons, the Bible says that you should have, I believe they said, 3, 4, up to 8 different streams of income. I cannot remember that, and it would take too much for me to go back through here and find it. But you need to have, I would say, at the very least, 3 different streams of income. If it was not for, to a degree, the passive income that I get from the cleaning company, I wouldn't be able to live, and I wouldn't be able to actually pastor the way that I do. Right now, for the most part, I don't go out and do the cleaning. We have special jobs that come up that I do, and when those come up, I get the majority of all of that money. But for the contracts that we have, I don't clean them. Other people are cleaning them. But it affords me to pay them, and most everybody who's working for me right now is getting at least $20 an hour. But it affords me to pay them $20 an hour and still make enough to be able to cover my monthly expenses in the home without going out to work. That's passive income. You can do it too. I'm no smarter than anybody in here. God gave me opportunities, and I took advantage of the opportunities. You all can take advantage of your opportunities. And I'm no more saved. God don't do no more for me because I'm saved than he'll do for you. Next one, pay yourself first. Saving money for the future is key. The easiest way to save money is to pay yourself first. For instance, as soon as you get your paycheck, deposit your money into your savings and investments before you do anything else. Some people say pay your mortgage and all of that. My dad even told me before, I don't know if he ever read this, but it was just something in his head that was given to him. He said, son, always pay yourself first. Everybody else is going to always have their hands out. But if it don't matter, if you get put out of your house, you ought to have at least some money to put some gas in your car so that your car stay heated. Give all your money to your mortgage, and they decide to still put you out. I know people who were paying their rent, and the people who was paying the rent, the mortgage or the homeowners wasn't paying the mortgage. So the people still got put out the house and didn't have nothing because they lived paycheck to paycheck. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself. And if you do it properly, then you won't necessarily be in a bad place, because your mortgage, your rent, remember I said this, your mortgage and your rent should not be over a third of what your income is. So if you make $3,000 a month, your mortgage or your rent should not be over $1,000 a month. If you make $3,000 a month and you paying $1,500 a month, you need to downsize. Live within your means. Many people are trying to live in places that's too big for them or it's too much for them. If that means you need to go to another neighborhood, I understand, I'm paying more because it's more safe here. Well, then you need to figure out how to increase your income. You all right now is the time for tithes and offerings. If you all are able to pay, not tithes and offering, thank you, sorry, don't look at me like that. Now that we're doing the offering for the Bible study. You can give your offering using the Cash App, $ New Jerusalem 1977. You can access the New Jerusalem Zelle app using phone number 314-368-7378. Baby, they can still see you going across if you're going to go. But that's, and believe me, how many of you all believe the information that I'm giving you is worth, if you had to pay for it, it would be worth paying for it? Help me to continue to help you. What I would like to do, believe it or not, I plan on, as the time goes on, I would like to go and get my PhD and finish my PhD on the theology side, but I would like to take more classes and learn more, or I would like to be able to bring in special guests who are experts in the field of insurance, expert in the field of the stock market, experts in the field of the foreign exchange, experts in different fields, but most people don't come for free. Your pastor is the only one who comes for free. Everybody else, it costs. And especially when they have that kind of knowledge and information, they charge well because the information that they're given is well deserved. So I would like, if we had enough money being brought in during our Bible study portion, I could allocate Bible study money to bringing in special guests who could teach us those kind of things. Make sense? Okay. So remember, yes, sir. I don't think I said there was 3 different types of income. I think I said you need to have 3 different streams, 3 different streams of income, meaning multiple ways that you get paid every month. So right now, I get my my pay when I go out and I'm actually doing the work. I get paid from the contracts that we have. Because of my military service and disability, I get paid for life for my disability that I incurred while in the military. Right now, I'm currently at a rate to where my disability covers my mortgage payment for life. That's great right now. Now, believe me, I paid for it, you all. Uh, my sufferings is worth a whole lot more than what they're giving me. And pray, because the majority of your military members, especially those who have dedicated their life and a 20-year career, most often when they come out of the service, they are broke down physically and mentally. And our VA and our government is doing everything they can not to pay us. It is one of the saddest things that our men and women have to go through and demoralize themselves because the government that they spent their life defending don't want to defend them. So, how do you pass down, you all, we got, oh my God, I got 11 minutes. How do we pass down generational wealth? Create an estate plan. An estate plan is absolutely essential to securing an easy transition of your assets. The larger your estate, the more complicated this plan will be. At any stage, I recommend consulting an attorney to come up with an estate plan for you. Even if you don't, you may have a car, a ring, and $100 in your checking account. If you have more than one child, they're going to fight over it. Most often. You might have a cousin who think that, your auntie said they raised you and they think they're entitled to 2 pair of shoes and your ball cap. People are going, unfortunately, death brings out ignorance in families. So you need to have an estate plan where you talk to the attorney, you sign it, it's notarized, they know exactly, and won't nobody be able to argue because the attorney is going to tell them what you said. The end. Write a will. A will may be included in your estate plan, but it is important to create one even if you don't have an estate plan. The will should include your exact wishes. The more specific you can be about your plans for any assets you have accumulated, the better. Your will, you can have an attorney, you can have an accountant, you can have a financial planner, but your will could literally be you writing out, I, Alonzo Adams, I am of sound mind and body. This is what I decree and declare to each one of my family members. There is a $250,000 life insurance policy. In the policy, Mom is primary beneficiary. If anything should happen to Mom and I die, then each one of my children is to get $250,000 divided by 4. If they are not at the age of 18, up until the age of 18, the amount of money will go into a trust fund. The trustee will be the 2 oldest children who are 18 plus. So Amaria and Akil will be the trust for Alondra and Aliana until they turn 18. Once they turn 18, they will be in control of their own money. Do you all? But all of that, Dad has a class ring. He has 4 wedding rings. Each wedding ring, one child will get a wedding ring apiece. Akil will get the big ring that has the majority of the diamonds because it is a man's ring that is an heirloom that is being passed down to each son. Each daughter will get one of the other rings, so forth and so on. The business, your will needs to be very specific. Don't say, I want to give my kids my jewelry. That's a fight. Because mama got 3 rings and 4 kids. Whichever kid comes out standing, that's the one who's going to get the ring. Or whichever one survives the stabbing, because now it's 3 kids left and 3 rings. But even with that, which ring? They're not all identical. This one is worth more. This one looks better. They need to know exactly what you want. I know you don't want to write a will because it makes you think of your own death. But you're going to die. It's going to happen. You need to let them know, if you're a member of a church, who your pastor is, and where all of your important papers and everything are at. Somebody needs to know if anything happens to you, how do we get the ball rolling? Do you have a plan? Do you have a life insurance policy? Do you have a burial plan? Do you have whatever? Do they got to start a GoFundMe? They need to know. And whenever you get something, you need to redo your will. If you buy a bigger house, if you buy multiple cars, if you buy another ring, if you have, stocks or what, every time you do something that you increase, you need to increase the information in the will. If not, this is what can happen if you don't have a will. Your whole estate, and it sounds like a big word, but all of your possession gets turned over to the court, and the court decides what's going to happen to your stuff. And they're going to put it in probate, and probate is going to say, you owed $30,000 in hospital bills and $20,000 on a car note, and the company said when they found out you had an estate, oh, we don't want the car back. We want our $20,000. You keep the car. So probate court says your house is worth $300,000. We're going to put everybody out the house. We're going to seize the house. We're going to sell it, and then we're going to give all of the creditors their money because we care about them. We work for them, not for you. We're going to give them their money to make sure that they have generational wealth to pass down to their families. And then we're going to give your family what's left. Brothers and sisters, don't put the power of your money in somebody else's hands. Keep the money for yourself, for your family. Talk to the pastor. I'm here. I went through all of this information to tell you that I know a little bit about it. I'm not here to try to get into your business. I'm not here to try to take over your money. I'm not here to try to get you to leave your inheritance to the church. Should you leave a portion or should you leave something to your church? Yeah. You're going to want us to bury you. You're going to want me to lie and say you was a real good member. You better put enough in the beneficiary for me to say something good about you. If not, I'm going to tell them the truth. You barely came to church. You didn't pay tithes. There was no offering. You was a bench member. I'm going to tell it all. He lived like a dog. He died like a dog. Undertakers. And your song, everybody coming, it's going to be, ding dong, the witch is dead, coming back out of bed. Ding dong, the witch is dead. We're going to be asleep. I'm just joking. Kind of, sort of. All right. So, listen. That concludes our 16-week on the whole man. Next week, there will not be any Bible study because that is the week between Christmas and New Year's. I hope that all of this information you all have been able to glean from it. Right now, I believe as of today, I am up to 75 or 85 pages. However many pages it is. Let's see. Read only. believe it's 75 or 85 pages. But if you would like a copy, send me your information. You can send a gentlemen, you have my number. You can send me a text message. Ladies, you have First Lady's number. You can send her a text message. Send me your email address. I will email you a copy of this entire 85-page book of history that we have put together over the last 16 weeks. You're welcome to it. I thank God for you. I pray that you have been able to get something good out of this. Any comments before we close up? We still got a minute or 2 minutes. Anybody got any questions or comments? No? All right. Thank you all. God bless. Let's pray. Father God, thank you for getting us to the end, for taking us out of this year. We pray that the information that has been given will be beneficial. Lord, I thank you for allowing me to be the conduit to teach this lesson of the whole man, the spiritual man, the physical man, the financial man. Let them take it, Lord. To them who know to do good and don't do it, to them it has become sin. You will whip them with a mini strike. As we learn better, we do better. Lord, let us not only do better for us, let us teach somebody the information that we learn so that we can make not only our home, our family, our community better. Let us make our world a better place. We bless you, we praise you, give you all the glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Consider